right? It's more now he wants to push me, right? So I'm going to use that energy as he pushes me to move around it, and then it makes this technique come on even easier and quicker, right? So I take that energy that he gives me as he pushes, I move around and flow into here. Right? From here, I can control, take him down, and have full control right here. All right, so for today, Justin and I want to explore how to make these techniques work by, instead of focusing on the technique that Lena shows in her videos, we're going to focus on the principles behind those techniques.
Hi, this is Ramsey Dewey at the JX Fight Club. I'm the MMA coach here. This is one of my students, Nils, and today we are going to try out some techniques from a self-defense video that we saw on the internet, and we're really excited to see how these techniques work against a resisting opponent. All right, here we go.
What's up, guys? My name is Lena Marty, here with Rip Fitness to teach you guys a few moves on self-defense. Wrist hold. You kind of tuck really fast, mirror your hand, and you're gonna grab underneath them. You're gonna rotate, and you're gonna bring this hip forward, and you're gonna power out this way.
Okay, we're gonna try the wrist hold escape. All right, so go ahead and give me some resistance here. That didn't work out too well. Here, Nils, you want to give it a try? So, grab my wrist over the top. Okay, go and resist. Maybe we're doing it wrong. Here, let's try it again. So, this hand over the top. This reminds me of swing dancing. Maybe. Okay, I'm bound and determined to get this this wrist escape thing to work because I know the internet will never lie to us. Let's try it again, Nils. All right, grab that, do that spinny thing. Oh.
One of the reasons why I feel that Ramsey and Nils in this video are unsuccessful at applying these techniques is the concept of flow. So let's talk a little bit about flow. Flow is when you're in a position when your challenge level and your skill level meet. So if you have, for example, a lot of skill and very little challenge, you're going to be bored, right? If you have a really big challenge and a little bit of skill, you're going to be unable to probably accomplish your task. People have a lot of misunderstandings about what is a realistic attack, right? If somebody grabs you and you're trying to learn a wrist escape and he's holding on super tight and just trying to keep this in place, well, my defense is to do nothing because there's no threat here. Unless he's squeezing so hard that, you know, like he's going to break my wrist or something like that, which is probably going to be pretty rare to be able to have the ability to do that. But this in itself is not an attack. And one of the principles that we learned that's an overall principle is that you never go through resistance. So if I go here and I try and do a technique and there's resistance, well, that's the cue not to proceed, right? And if somebody gave me this type of an attack, which is absolutely ridiculous, I wouldn't try and do what Lena was showing, right? Because it makes absolutely no sense to do that. He's got this wide open target right here, you know, anywhere. So why would I try and get out of this when it's not a threat, number one, and when all these other targets are right here, right? His hand's down, he's just focused on here. And that is one of the big common mistakes that people have, is when they grab anything, their mind gets stuck over here, right? So that is one of the principles with wrist escapes, is that when you're being grabbed, is you don't want to move from here, you want to move around this point. This becomes the pivot point that you move around, right? So if he was holding on here and not attacking, right, I would just be coming in here and attacking like that. That's your defense against a resistant wrist grab, because anything else is just a waste of energy, right? Now go and block this. Okay, grab, right? Don't get stuck. on a particular technique. All right, so let's go back to the technique. So what would be your intent if you're going to grab my wrist in this way? And so one of the other things is that if you're trying to learn a technique, you got to do what the teacher was showing. So here, Ramsey puts his hands up like this, and he gave this attack, and he's trying to do this, right? Of course, that will never work because, once again, my skill level is at 0 because I don't even know what I'm doing, and I'm not applying any of the principles that are being taught, and he's at level 4, escalation, giving a high resistance. And once again, the first principle is if I have resistance here, I don't move through it, right? So, number 1, this is the attack. The hand was down, and that changes everything because if it's up here, I've got to do a totally different technique. But let's think about this. If you were going to grab me, for what purpose would you grab me in it? And it's going to vary, right? So you just got to make whatever.
The two things that come to my mind is either to stop you from grabbing stuff or to control you to, like, say, come this way, sort of a thing.
Okay.
Grab and pull. Okay.
Okay. So now let's slow it down and isolate that for a second. Why did that work, right? As he's pulling me, right, I'm coming up here. See how it's very easy to escape? So I don't even really need to do the rest of the technique. The rest of the technique is gravy. I'm just mostly just trying to get away. But as he pulls and gives me energy, and I walk with him, and I just move up the way she showed here, right, I'm able to escape. Hold on as tight as you can and try and yank me.
Try and pull.
Right.
Grab and pull as much as I can.
Yeah. Right? And you see, I'm not struggling. Any woman could do this. It's not that difficult. So once again, you're grabbing and pulling, and I'm just going to lift, and I grab here now, right? And he's trying to pull me, and she's just talking about coming in here. I prefer not to give my back, so I would modify this personally. I wouldn't do it the way she showed. I would simply modify it, coming in here, and taking them right down here, and I can control them, right? It gets a little bit martial arty when we start doing that stuff. But realistically, right, as he's pulling, I'm going to be in here. You want to give this a shot?
Sure.
So I'm going to grab and pull. The skinny part of my wrist slips right through the weak point of his grip. And that's really one of the key principles here that you're trying to do. Teaching self-defense, I don't like to teach stuff that's too complicated and martial arty. I like just get away and then attack. That would be my approach, right? It's just kind of keep it simple. What about you? Can you grab me and give me some resistance and just try and pull me as much as you can? How does that work, right?
Came out.
Yeah, it's kind of, right? So it's just trying to isolate that idea. Right? So this is the idea of like, how hard is it to really break people? How safe do you feel right now?
Not safe.
Not safe, right? What if I let go?
Good.
Right? So trying to break people, it's not that difficult. We forgot to show a couple things, so we're gonna talk a little bit about that. Going back to this, he's gonna use that as an attack or as a means to pull me, right? And I'm gonna use that energy. So and we're gonna go slow on this. So as he comes in and he pulls, I come in here by lifting my hand up, right? And Lena kind of shows grabbing the wrist and coming around to the inside and circling around, right? Well, there's a danger to that, as you can see. So if you're going to do that, you need to make sure that you're doing it properly, right? So as you come in here, I can escape. I'm going to grab the hand this way, but I'm going to cover before I come in, and I'm going to cover, right? And then you can control them however you want. But it's important to realize that if you go in and you give the back, boom, you cover, right? Always protecting yourself as you go around. As we mentioned before, when they were showing it, I think it was Ramsey, instead of having his hand down here like this, where they were showing this technique, he would say, grab my wrist. Now, of course, everything's different because the escape point is in a different location. He already raised his hand, therefore it changes, and raising your hand doesn't do anything because it's a different grip, right? So that was one of the big reasons why they can't get this to work. So if you have this here, you got to move around it and do something different, right? So once again, like we mentioned earlier, the key to wrist escapes, this one, is you got to move around this point and not fight it, right? So same thing, like if you're going to grab me this way, it's different than this way, right?
Right, it totally changes the principle.
And from here,
Pull you,
pull me.
come this
right?
way.
Exactly. So if you're this way, do you feel like pulling you has the same amount of grip strength?
No, this is either to hold you this way or maybe push you,
Right.
talk to you.
Exactly. So from this, he's probably not going to pull me because the grip isn't designed to do that in this formation, right? It's more now he wants to push me.
Push you.
Right. So I'm going to use that energy as he pushes me to move around it, and then it makes this technique come on even easier and quicker, right? So I take that energy that he gives me as he pushes, I move around and flow into here. Right? From here, I can control, take him down, and have full control right here. Okay? Now, like I've said in some of my other videos, there's a big difference between martial arts and women's self-defense. And I wouldn't teach these kind of things in self-defense because they're a little bit more complex in nature. So when I focus on women's self-defense, I teach things that are much simpler. So if somebody were to grab him this way and he's pushing, for example, you're just going to come in here, do a simple slap to the ear, right? A cupped hand slap right to the ear. And we have lots of statistics that show that in real life situations, this works really well, okay? So if you want to simplify, and the thing about women's self-defense is that most martial artists are the ones who started teaching women's self-defense. And so they were relying upon what they knew. And it's not until now that we've realized that we need to simplify things and use gross motor skills versus really refined motor skills that it takes of years of training as you study to become a martial artist. All right, so the purpose of this video is not in any way to slam Ramsey Dewey in his dojo and what he's doing. He's sending a really important message that we need to pay attention to. And this is not also designed to defend Lena or any other people who teach women's self-defense. This is designed to kind of help bring misunderstandings to light, and so that people can hopefully learn, share their ideas. I know there's going to be a lot of people that totally disagree with what we have to say, and we love your feedback regardless, because we learn from what you share with us, right? Good and bad comments.
Absolutely. That's what helps us grow, right? We bounce things off of each other, and we try to make it better.
Yeah. So once again, I love watching Ramsey's videos, and I would be honored if you wanted to ever do any videos with us. Yeah, we collaborate on a video. I'm totally open for anything. I love collaborating with other martial artists to learn from their expertise and to grow together as martial artists.